Okay, everyone. So this is my, I think like fourth or fifth time trying to record this, and it always comes out just too long. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to record specifically the lectures for my criminology class. I think I'm going to break them up into two because it's so long, and not even I have the attention span to like watch an hour video. Like I can't do it. I can't do it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get through half of the lecture, half of chapter 1 in our Criminology, the Essentials textbook today, meaning Tuesday. You should see this on Wednesday. And then I will do the remaining of the textbook. Not even that the chapters are long, so that's not even the issue. It's just that I have so much to say in regards to the chapter. So I am going to stop when I get to our textbook where it talks about an excursion through the American criminal justice system. And I will pick that up in the second lecture, which I will have for you tomorrow, Wednesday, probably sometime in the evening. I'll probably try to record it tonight, but the way it's not happening. It's not happening today. You'll get the first half today, meaning Tuesday early, and you'll get the second part right on time for the beginning of school, okay? So quickly, before I get into chapter 1 of Criminology, the Essentials, I do want to share my screen with you just so you guys can see what's happening this week. So you guys should be able to see the exact same thing I'm looking at, which is my Blackboard. Our Blackboards don't look the same. So I have every single module for the entire semester already set up for you guys. But week 1, you'll always see the modules look the same. So you'll always see the objectives for the week. Those are the things that I want you to get out of the week after reading the textbook, after they're listening to our lectures, etc. Then you'll always see some item titled Things to Do. Here I tell you, read chapter 1 in Criminology by W&J. W&J, obviously Walsh and Jorgenson. Then you also have to do a discussion board, introductions, syllabus scavenger hunt, and time management. So it's just a discussion board on whether or not you read the syllabus. Here it is. Here's a discussion board, right? Answer the questions and you should receive full points. Discussion board questions are always due on Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So this one is going to be due on September 13th. That's Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. However, again, it's open to you right now, early, okay? You also, and I will update the things to do, it's a troubleshoot week. What I mean by troubleshoot week is that I want to make sure we get the kinks out the first 2 weeks of the semester. So I want you guys to engage with me on Flipgrid. Again, it's just to see and make sure you know how to utilize Flipgrid when it gets down to it. Okay, so you're gonna have to tell me your name, your year, and what are your views on the criminal justice system today, or policing bodies, criminology in general, etc. With this, you'll see, obviously, I have recorded just a quick video posing these questions to you, and you reply back in video format. You do not have to show your face on the video. So you could do audio if you choose to, but I need to put either a face to the name that I have on my attendance sheet or a voice to the name. Okay, I am a very interactive professor here at NECC, and of course, online teaching is going to be difficult for me. Not that I can't do it, of course I can do it. You know, it's difficult not being in the classroom because I truly love what I do. okay? But that's this week. So you have to read chapter 1, obviously watch the lectures, do the discussion board right there, right? That's in relation to whether or not you've read the syllabus. You should be able to tell me what the course is about, or what is plagiarism, etc. And then engage with me on Flipgrid down here at the bottom. There is the passcode. You need the passcode and an NECC email to be able to engage with me there. I will not, you can't engage with me there through your Gmail accounts, Yahoos, or whatever. It's just, it is a private space for each of my classrooms. And yeah, it's a way that I can grade for participation. And when I say grade for participation, if it comes down to crunch time and you need some extra points in this class to get you to that B+, to get you to that A-, to get you to that A, this will help. Sound good? Okay, so I am now going to share my PowerPoint lecture with you guys. And you guys actually should be able to, you have access to this on Blackboard. So the same lectures that, the same lectures, the same PowerPoint that I'm lecturing on, you always have access ahead of time. So you will have access to this lecture now, but future lectures you'll always have access to on Monday mornings at 12 a.m. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get started. Again, I'm only going to get into half of the chapter with this first lecture. I don't want it to be too long because I can't even stand watching my face. So let's get into it, okay? So sorry for my facial gestures. It's just, yeah, I wish I was in a face-to-face class, but I'm lecturing to a computer right now. So let's do it. Chapter 1. So chapter 1 is entitled An Overview of Crime and Criminology. So there are a couple of things that I'm going to want you guys to make sure you get out of this week's reading. Again, your book entitles these at the beginning of your of every single chapter. They identify these as learning objectives, as learning objectives. I do include some of my own as well, okay? I'm gonna go through a couple of them right now. So I want you to be able to define criminology, okay? Definitions are very, very important and crucial in this class. And to describe the difference between the disciplines of criminology and criminal justice, okay? So be able to understand and know, be able to pick out the differences between the disciplines of criminology and criminal justice. They are not interchangeable. Although people use them interchangeably, they're different, okay? Be able to know the differences, but be able to define them both, okay? Identify the difficulties attached to defining crime. Why is it so difficult to define crime? Why is it not clear cut? This is a crime, this is a crime, this is not a crime, etc. Explain the differences between crime and criminality, okay? Again, people use them interchangeably. However, they are defined differently, okay? Describe the legal process required to officially become a criminal, okay? You need to be able, again, to define, right? Describe that legal process that allows one now to be called a criminal. How do I become a criminal, or how do I get labeled a criminal once I mug someone on the street? Okay. Discuss how thinking about crime and criminology is time and culture bound. Okay, we're gonna get into that. Examine the relationship between theory and policy in regards to criminology. Okay, what is theory? What is policy? And what's that relationship like when we're talking about criminology? Analyze the role of ideology in criminology. And then lastly, explain the connection between criminological theory and social policy. Okay? So now I just want to get through the major stuff in the book, right? Our first slide, as you see right here, what is criminology? Okay? What is it? Okay? Criminology is an interdisciplinary science. What do I mean by interdisciplinary? And this is where having a dictionary may come in hand for a lot of you, and that's not to say anyone is lacking, right? But it's important to be sure about your definitions in this type of science. Criminology is a science, okay? But it's an interdisciplinary science. That means it combines multiple disciplines. So in criminology, you will see disciplines such as sociology, psychology, criminal justice, social psychology, and even history, okay? So it's an interdisciplinary science that gathers and analyzes data on various aspects of criminal, delinquent, and even antisocial behavior, okay? Criminology will also examine why those individuals committed crimes that got them entangled in the criminal justice system in the first place. Okay? So criminology is concerned with criminal justice. Okay? Again, definitions, being able to define these terms that I'm spitting out right now are very important, okay? Criminology is also a type of scientific study. Now, this might sound actually very, very strange to a lot of you. When we talk about criminology, or when people mention criminology, science doesn't immediately pop up into someone's head, okay? How is it a science, etc.? But it is, okay? So by scientific study of specifically crime and criminal behavior, we mean as criminologists, so Walsh and Jorgensen, myself, you, now who are sitting in my class or taking my class since I don't have a physical class, I'm gonna use you guys are criminologists, okay? So we use the scientific method, okay? We use the scientific method specifically to try and answer the questions they ask rather than just, sitting on them in our armchair, just like theorizing about them. Or how do I say it? We try to answer the questions they ask rather than just like philosophizing about them, okay? So, what is a crime? Okay? Defining a crime is difficulty. So there are difficulties in defining what is a crime, what is not a crime, etc. The term criminal can and has been applied to many types of behaviors, okay? Some of which nearly we all have been guilty of at some point in our lives. There are things that we've done that might actually be seen as criminal or might actually be criminal, okay? Let's get into criminal acts, okay? And with this part of our textbook, I really want us to really think, okay? Criminal acts, okay? We can all think of acts that we feel ought to be criminal, but they're not. We can also see that there are things that are defined as criminal, but should not be. I want you to take a second, and if you're taking notes, and I suggest actually taking notes for all of your classes, not just mine, what are some of these crimes, quote unquote crimes? One that I will give you right now that can fluctuate to one side or the other is the use of marijuana. And I don't care if you want to say medicinally or recreationally, it really doesn't matter, okay? Especially for the example I'm about to give right now. I used to live in Humboldt County in specifically Arcata, California. That is part of the Emerald Triangle. The Emerald Triangle is known for marijuana, AKA ganja, AKA Mary Jane, okay? Now, that was about, we're in 2020, that was actually about 12 years ago during my master's program, okay? So, and I spent 3 years out there, okay? At the time, this is about 12 years ago. At the time, marijuana was not legal, okay? Especially not recreationally. So think about the stigmas around that. But it was also seen as criminal, okay? However, at that time, people in that area did not see it as criminal, okay? Because like, I won't tell you guys what I was doing. I was in my master's program, but I was also around a lot of people who engaged in that kind of stuff. When I say engaged in it, I'm not saying like smoked it. I'm talking about grew it, okay? So you have the community, and when I say community, I'm being all inclusive. I'm not just talking about the community of growers, but I'm also talking about police officers who knew people were growing it, but allowed it. So although the law defines the use of marijuana at that time as criminal, people don't see it as criminal. They're actually saying it shouldn't be as criminal. Now take it to 2020, right? Let's move the location. We're now in Massachusetts, okay? Marijuana use, think about marijuana use in Massachusetts, recreationally or medicinally, okay? We do have a lot of politicians around our area that still want to criminalize it. However, a lot of the policies around that have lessened charges around the use of marijuana, okay? So criminal acts, okay? We can all think of acts that we feel ought to be criminal, but are not, or acts that should be criminal, that should not be criminal, but are, okay? Laws in the US, the list of things that someone or another at different times and at different places may consider to be crimes is very large, with only a few being defined as criminal by law in the United States. Specifically, your book will go into Tapan's, before I get to Tapan, act in violation of a criminal law for which punishment is prescribed, before I get into Tapan. So a crime is thus an act in violation of a criminal law for which a punishment is prescribed. The person committing it must have intended to do so and must have done so without legally acceptable defense or justification for it to be considered a criminal act, a criminal violation. Tapan's definition is very important in your text, right? Tapan's definition, it's the most often quoted, And some of this actually might sound similar or familiar to some of you as you listen to this, but he defined crime as an intentional act in violation of the criminal law committed without defense or excuse, and punishable by the state. Okay. So Tapan's definition helped reaffirm what a crime is, what a crime is not, where and how it falls within those perimeters. Crime as a moving target, okay? As long as human societies remain diverse, multicultural, inclusive, dynamic, there will always be moving targets of activities with the potential for nomination as crimes, as well as illegal activities nominated for decriminalization, okay? Social constructions, I know in my Sociology 101 class, most students already know what this is. So I'm hoping that most of you already know what a social construction is. Right now, we're just going over terms that help to define what a crime is. But social construction means humans have perceived a phenomenon, named it, and categorized it according to some classificatory rule that makes note of the similarities and differences amongst the things being classified. A social construction is something that is man-made, something that is human-made and defined. Race is a social construction. Gender is a social construction, okay? These are terms, these are categories that change over time. It's a lot to get through in just this lecture, but race in the United States, these categories of white, Black, Asian, Asian or Hispanic, Asian or Pacific Islander, Hispanic is not part of a racial category anymore. That alone should show you Hispanic is no longer a racial category. So what is race? Native Americans once used to be classified as white. What is race? It's a category that changes throughout the decades, throughout the centuries, okay? And these terms go through what we call a racial formation, specifically race. Gender, and what we define how a man is supposed to behave and act like, changes. A woman is to behave and act like, changes. Anybody who doesn't consider them male or female or part of the binary, okay? Crime is the same thing, okay? It is a social construction. What we define as crime changes throughout the decades, throughout the centuries, okay? So it actually should be noted that some behaviors are nearly universally condemned, such as the unjustified killings of others and the non-consequential taking of property, okay? Some of them are, again, some things are universally condemned, so they're not just relative. When I say relative, you know, here in the United States, what was the example your book gave? Unjustified killings, right? Unjustified killings are condemned everywhere around the globe, okay? However, when we go into like specificities and things like that, they might change slightly, which would make it relative. Okay. Crime as a subcategory of social harms, okay? Socially harmful acts are the acts deemed to be in need of regulation, but not by the criminal law except under exceptional circumstances. Okay. Private wrongs are socially harmful, but not sufficiently so to require the heavy hand of criminal law. When I go through a lot of again, most of the things I'm going through right now are definitions. You should be pausing, okay, and really thinking of, okay, give me some, what are some examples of private wrongs, etc. We can pull a lot of these things from our own lives. And when I say our own lives, I'm not talking about necessarily our immediate families, but some of us have friends who have gone through some of these things, okay? Categorization of crime always requires a series of human judgments, but that does not necessarily render the categorizations arbitrary, okay? Direct cost, you need to know the cost of crime. So there are direct and indirect costs, right? Direct costs of crimes are costs of running the criminal justice system and the costs associated with each crime. Indirect costs, on the other hand, indirect costs of crime include all manner of surveillance and security devices, protective devices, insurance costs, medical services, and productivity, and taxes of incarcerated individuals. And beyond social construction, so the stationary core crimes. So mala and se. And here is where the chapter kind of gets complicated, but do not let your heads explode. You need to know the difference between mala and se, right? And mala prohibita, right? So mala prohibita, okay? Mala and se is universally condemned crimes that are inherently bad. Mala and se, okay? Inherently bad, universally condemned crimes, okay? Mala prohibita are crimes that are bad simply because they're prohibited, okay? Think of crimes that would fall under the category of mala and se, and think about crimes that would fall under the category of mala prohibita, okay? Your book in this section, and it's not on the PowerPoint, however, I do think that I should have posted it or somehow made a note of it on the PowerPoint, but John Hagen, okay? Your book's going to talk about John Hagen. John Hagen specifically tries to distinguish between real and socially constructed crimes. So, pardon me. So again, he's trying to distinguish between real crimes and socially constructed arbitrary crimes by examining the three highly interrelated concepts, right? So harm, severity, and consensus, okay? And I said I should have noted it. You have part of it here, but take your time through that section, okay? The last thing I want to get through in this specific lecture is criminality, okay? So crime is obviously an intentional act of commission or omission contrary to the law and is a property of society. It sounds weird, but it's a property of society, okay? Criminality is a property of individuals, right? That signals the willingness to commit crimes and other harmful acts. Criminality is a trait that lies on a continuum, ranging from saints to sociopaths, right? And is composed of a mixture of other traits, such as being callous, low empathy, impulsiveness, a negative like emotionality. And all of this varies greatly amongst people, okay? The legal making of a criminal, okay? A criminal is someone who's committed a crime and has been judged guilty of having done so, okay? That is the legal definition, okay? Before the law can properly call someone a criminal, okay, it must go through a series of actions governed by a well-defined legal rules guiding the seriousness of officially labeling somebody that way, okay? So it's so serious that you actually need to know what what actually like, how do I say this? What actually constitutes a crime, okay? Again, some terms, right? Mala and se, mala prohibita, right? But here you have corpus delicit, right? Corpus delicit, elements, and also elements of a crime. Corpus delicit is Latin, right? So it's a term meaning the body of a crime and refers to the elements of an act that must be present in order to legally define it as a crime. And then all crimes have their own specific elements. So elements of a crime, which are the essential constituent parts that define the act as criminal. Also, all crimes share a set of general elements of principles underlying and supporting the specific elements. There are specifically 5 principles of a crime that you have to take into account. Okay? Actus reus, mens res, concurrence, causation, and harm. I will actually pick up with those in the next lecture, okay? So this probably has been about 20 to 30 minutes, but I'm going to pick up with what constitutes a crime in the next lecture. Sound good? I'll see you then. Bye.